They say comparison is the thief of joy. But for most of us, it's not a thief. It's a parasite. It's invisible, living in every scroll, every glance, every silent judgment we make about ourselves. You wake up, open your phone, and before you've even taken a deep breath, someone else's life already feels more beautiful, more complete, more worth living than yours. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispers, "You're behind." That's the poison. The belief that someone else's pace, someone else's success, someone else's version of happiness should determine your own. Schopenhauer once said, "We can never be happy as long as we compare ourselves, because our happiness depends not on what we have, but on what others have in relation to us." Think about that. The very act of measuring your worth through others ensures you'll never find peace within yourself. It's a trap we built together, a world where your achievements mean nothing until they're seen, where your self-worth is hostage to the illusion of someone else's perfection. And every time you compare, you surrender a piece of your soul to something that was never real to begin with. But what if the problem isn't that you're behind? What if it's that you're looking in the wrong direction? Science calls it the social comparison bias. Your brain evolved to evaluate, to survive in tribes, to see where you fit. But in the modern world, this instinct has turned toxic. We no longer compare ourselves to a few people we know, but to millions we'll never meet. And yet, here's the revelation Schopenhauer left us with. The only true happiness is independent happiness. The kind that doesn't crumble when someone else rises. The kind that doesn't vanish when the spotlight moves away. So the real question isn't, how do I stop comparing? It's, who am I without comparison? Because the moment you stop measuring yourself against the world, you finally start becoming someone the world could never measure. Chapter 1. The Invisible Parasite. It begins quietly, like every ordinary morning. The alarm buzzes. You reach for your phone. A flood of images greets you: vacations, new jobs, flawless faces, success stories. And before you even stretch or breathe, something small and unseen crawls into your mind. You're behind. That's how it starts. Not with malice, not with intent, but with repetition. Day after day, your brain collects fragments of other people's lives, and somewhere between admiration and envy, something subtle begins to shift. You stop seeing your own life as yours and start measuring it against 1,000 others. Comparison doesn't announce itself. It doesn't knock at your door. It seeps in through the glow of your screen, through the laughter of a friend, through the casual comment, "Did you hear what they achieved?" It feeds not on your weakness, but on your attention. The more you look outward, the more it grows inward. Psychologists often describe comparison as a natural instinct, a way our ancestors gauged their standing in a tribe. But what was once a survival tool has become a psychological parasite. It no longer helps us belong, it convinces us that we never will. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because unlike a wound you can see, this one hides beneath normal life. You can be successful and still feel inadequate. You can be loved and still feel unseen. You can have enough and still feel empty. In a world that never stops showing you what you're missing, comparison whispers that you're not enough, not yet, not ever. It turns progress into pressure, joy into judgment. And every time you give in to that invisible urge to compare, you trade a piece of your peace for an illusion. The illusion that someone else's life is somehow more complete than yours. But here's the truth. You can't win a race that doesn't exist. No one can. Because everyone's running on different tracks. Some uphill, some through storms, some with invisible weights no one else can see. So maybe the question isn't, how do I stop comparing? Maybe it's, what is this comparison trying to take from me today? Because every time you catch it, every time you notice that small voice creeping in, you weaken its hold. And that's where freedom begins. It's not in becoming better than others, but in becoming aware of yourself. The parasite only lives when you feed it. Now, Pause for a moment. Think about what this chapter reveals about how quietly comparison shapes your life. And tell us in the comments, what lesson does this chapter teach you about protecting your happiness from comparison? Chapter 2. The Whisper That Controls You. It doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It whispers softly, almost kindly, "You're behind." At first, you barely notice it. It's just a passing thought, a flicker of self-doubt when you see someone doing what you wish you could. But the whisper returns, again and again, until it no longer feels like a thought. It feels like truth. This is how comparison evolves from an invisible parasite into a quiet dictator of your emotions. It tells you when to feel proud and when to feel ashamed. It decides what enough looks like. And worst of all, it convinces you that peace is something you can only earn after you've caught up. You start running not because you love the race, but because you fear standing still. You wake up and check your progress like it's a scoreboard. And every victory feels smaller than it should, because somewhere, someone's already ahead. That whisper knows exactly how to twist the knife. It sounds logical, even responsible. You should be doing more. You should have achieved that by now. It disguises itself as motivation, but it's really self-doubt in disguise. Because real growth doesn't speak in guilt, it speaks in curiosity. This inner voice feeds on comparison's oldest illusion, the idea that everyone's journey can be measured by the same scale. But your timeline was never meant to match anyone else's. Think of a forest. No two trees bloom at the same time, yet every one of them is complete. No tree ever looks over and says, "Why is your spring earlier than mine?" And still, as humans, we do. We listen to that whisper as if it's guidance, when in truth, it's a distortion. The irony is that the whisper only has power because we believe it's us. It uses our own voice, our memories, our fears, our hopes. But if you pause long enough to listen closely, you'll notice something extraordinary. That voice doesn't belong to your truth. It belongs to your insecurity. You are not the voice that says, "I'm not enough." You are the awareness that hears it and chooses whether to believe it. That's where the first crack of freedom appears. The moment you stop reacting to the whisper and start questioning it. Because once you see it for what it is, a trick of the mind, a habit of fear, you begin to reclaim your power. The whisper loses its control the moment you answer back with one simple realization. You are not behind. You are just on your own time. Chapter 3. The Schopenhauer Revelation. There comes a moment, quiet, uncomfortable, almost painful, when the truth finally catches up to you. You realize that no matter how much you achieve, no matter how far you go, happiness always seems to stay one step ahead, like a mirage that keeps moving the closer you get. It's in that moment that Schopenhauer's words echo through time. We can never be happy as long as we compare ourselves, because our happiness depends not on what we have, but on what others have in relation to us. It's not just a sentence, it's a mirror. A mirror that forces us to confront the real reason why peace feels so temporary. For most of our lives, we've believed happiness was something we could earn. A promotion, a new home, a relationship. Each achievement feels like a step closer to satisfaction. But Schopenhauer saw something most of us still miss. We don't measure joy by what we have. We measure it by how it looks next to someone else's. It's not the house that makes us proud, it's that it's bigger than theirs. It's not the success that fulfills us, it's that others haven't reached it yet. And that's why happiness built on comparison can never last. Because the moment someone surpasses you, your joy collapses like it was never real. Imagine it like standing on a staircase, where every step you climb reveals another person just a few steps higher. No matter how far you go, there's always another step, another comparison, waiting to take your peace away. Schopenhauer wasn't condemning ambition. He was warning us about dependence, the dangerous habit of tying our emotional worth to things outside ourselves. Because when your happiness depends on external reference points, it stops being yours. It belongs to everyone you compare yourself to. And here's the sting: it's not life that takes our peace, it's the mind that trades it away. Every time we say, "I'll be happy when," we delay contentment, postponing peace to a future that never arrives. But the moment you understand this, truly see it, something inside begins to loosen. You start to realize that happiness isn't a competition, it's a comprehension. It's not about what others have, it's about what you notice. Gratitude, presence, simplicity. These aren't cliches, they're rebellion. In a world addicted to comparison, choosing contentment is an act of quiet defiance. So pause for a moment. Think of how many times you've let joy slip away because someone else's version of success looked shinier than yours. And then remind yourself, happiness that depends on others will always belong to others. Now, I want to hear from you. Leave a quote for someone else scrolling through the comments. Write this: "The day I stopped comparing, I started living." Chapter 4. The Trap of Illusion. It's one of the most dangerous traps of modern life, not because it looks threatening, but because it looks beautiful. We live surrounded by carefully curated worlds, glowing screens filled with filtered faces, achievements, and lives that appear effortless. Every scroll, every story, every highlight reel tells us what success should look like. And slowly, without realizing it, we stop living our lives and start performing for them. This is the illusion, the silent theater of comparison. A world where reality has been replaced by presentation, where joy becomes a prop and happiness becomes a headline. Schopenhauer might have called it vanity, the endless pursuit of being seen. Because in this new world, value isn't measured by what we feel, but by what we can show. It's not enough to be happy, we must look happy. Not enough to grow, we must prove we're growing. The irony is haunting. We chase validation to feel worthy, only to end up emptier than before. We compare our behind the scenes to someone else's best moments and wonder why our lives never feel as perfect. But the truth is, no one's life looks the way it's shown. Behind every flawless post lies a private struggle, a hidden doubt, a story that never made it past the edit. And yet, we measure our self-worth against the illusion, a ghost of perfection that doesn't even exist. It's a psychological mirage. The more you chase it, the thirstier you become. You keep scrolling, searching, comparing, hoping to find inspiration and end up drained, convinced you're falling behind in a race no one is actually winning. The trap isn't technology, it's perception. We mistake visibility for value, attention for achievement. We believe being admired is the same as being fulfilled. But fulfillment doesn't come from being seen, it comes from being real. When you stop performing for approval and start living for authenticity, something profound happens. You return to yourself. Your world quiets. Your energy shifts from chasing to creating, from proving to being. The illusion fades when you look directly at it, when you remember that the purpose of life isn't to impress, but to express. So, take a step back from the noise. Ask yourself, how much of what I do is for me, and how much is for them? Because every moment spent trying to be someone else's version of enough is a moment stolen from your own truth. And maybe that's the lesson hidden beneath all the filters and facades. You don't need to be seen to be significant. You just need to be yourself. Now, let's turn reflection into action. What lesson does this chapter teach you about escaping the illusion of comparison? Or leave this quote for someone who might need it. The moment I stopped chasing attention, I found peace in authenticity, the quiet victory. In the end, it was never about being better than anyone else. It was about becoming whole piece by piece, moment by moment, without the need to be measured. We began with comparison, that quiet parasite that steals joy without a sound. We heard the whisper that tells us we're behind, unworthy, unfinished. And then we faced Schopenhauer's truth that happiness can never live in the shadow of someone else's life. But through it all, something deeper emerged. The realization that peace is not found in what we chase, but in what we release. When you stop running after validation, the noise fades. When you stop looking outward for worth, you begin to see the beauty in what's already yours. Happiness was never a prize to win. It was a presence waiting to be noticed. So the way forward is not about more success, more recognition, more comparison. It's about less noise, less pretending, less measuring your light against another's. It's about standing still long enough to remember, you are not behind, you are becoming. Your journey isn't late, your growth isn't small, your story isn't invisible. It's yours, and that alone makes it extraordinary. So choose peace over pressure, choose presence over performance, and choose to see your life not as a competition, but as a creation. Because the day you stop comparing is the day you start living. And maybe that's where all true happiness begins. Not in reaching the world, but in finally returning to yourself.